That's not really funny.
In a couple of weeks from now, the V8 Supercar Championship will start in Adelaide. So how do the teams treat the racing here this weekend?
The V8 Supercar teams and drivers may be taking a back seat to the main show at Albert Park, but they seem almost happy to as the reality of several off-season changes kick in. This weekend is a chance to get their house in order before the Championship Series gets underway in Adelaide in a fortnight's time.
And no matter what, the car the Ford is a lot different from the AU that they've used in previous years. So the team's still learning what the car likes and what it responds to. So this week we can't get too carried away with trying to go out and be heroes and win this race. I mean, obviously we're still going to put in a big effort, but the big picture is in a couple of weeks' time at the Adelaide 500. So we're definitely going to use this as a bit of a test bed as well. If we're going to throw a bit of a radical setup, we might as well do it here, learn what it does, and it will either be heroes or zero.
One team planning to maximise every ounce of track time at Albert Park is the new Ford Performance Racing outfit. There's plenty of speculation and expectation about how this pro-drive-back team will perform in 2003. Craig Lowndes has moved across under his Ford contract, hooking up with Queensland 500 winner David Bernard and Glenn Seaton for a three-car assault. The impossible juggle of playing owner-driver has finally come to an end for Seaton, and it's given him a new lease on life. But he's not expecting miracles from FPR this weekend.
This is probably a test session for us this weekend to get the car probably the best that we can for this weekend and do a bit of learning because we are very limited to test days that we get. We only get 8 a year. So we'll use this race as a test session, but it's also probably pretty important too to do well because you're in front of the international public here.
HRT is playing down talk of maintaining their dominance in recent years. Perhaps fans can expect the unexpected this season.
So, you know, it will be an interesting weekend in terms of what car goes well in the races and, you know, where we sit with VY versus VX and where the new Ford lies, you know, in overall competitiveness.
With former teammate Russell Ingall now at Ford and Larry Perkins in semi-retirement, Stephen Richards is now the lead gun for Castrol and he's relishing the challenge.
First time ever, you know, another year with the Castrol Perkins racing team, so that for me is great. I've needed a bit of stability in my career over the past couple of years, so for me this is ideal.
Jamie Whincup is taking the massive step up from Formula Ford after winning last year's championship. This V8 Supercar rookie is keeping the 03 mission simple.
I'm hoping to bring it home, actually, keep it on the black stuff and you know, try to finish up the front as much as possible, but just get a feel of the category and all the other drivers and, yeah, really just bring it home nice and straight.
With no championship points on offer, the pressures are different here. It's about sorting new cars, easing new personnel into the job, and at the same time, soaking up the international atmosphere of F1.
Running around here in front of a big crowd, which always turns up at the Grand Prix, is a good start for the sponsors and a great way to start the season. But because it's non-championship, having the opportunity to get out there and not worry about points is a good way to start. Just get things running, back into gear, and you know, get a bit of testing before the start of the season too.
The cars are gridding up for race 2 of the V8 Supercars this weekend, the Net Space event, and Matthew White and Neil Crompton will bring you that race. But first, a word from Greg Rust in the pits.
Thanks very much, Billy. Down here on the grid at the moment, much as we just saw in that story has been made of Russell Ingall's defection over summer from Holden to Ford. But what about this bloke? He's jumped ship as well. And Jason Bargwanna, you're off to a terrific start with the Blue Oval.
Yeah, Rusty, it's gone quite well, hasn't it, really? You know, I mean, the guys have worked very hard to expand this team from a one-car operation to a two-car operation. They made the decision we're going to start the year in the AUs, and it seems to be the right one because the team's well organised, the car's well balanced, and obviously we're quite competitive here this weekend.
Has this given you a bit of a new lease on life as well? Are we seeing a new, more aggressive Bargs again, maybe?
Oh, look, mate, I reckon I'm back. It's so nice to be at this end of the grid. It's nice to be really competitive and chasing these guys and putting pressure on them. So we've got a bit of work to do. We struggled with brakes yesterday. I think that we've made some serious changes and hopefully we'll get these things right for Adelaide and go to Adelaide really in a position where we can hopefully have a great weekend.
Enjoy.
Oh, mate, I'm having a ball. How can you not?
In the VX still, and so is Bridie there in front of you, but Russell's in the BA, still promising good results.
It's been going really well this weekend. I couldn't be happier, and what better place to be on a sunny Saturday afternoon than sitting here on the second row, effectively.
Larry said you were carrying the car a lot yesterday. You were the man doing the job. You had a little mess up and Russell got to you. Things better today?
Yeah, should be. I mean, the car actually wasn't that bad, but no, we've made some subtle changes, and we hope that'll give us a little bit extra.
Good luck.
Thanks.
And we take a look down the front now of car number 19, one of the Ford Performance Racing cars, which is David Bernard. And Daryl Beattie and Greg Rust, of course, as they always do, will be patrolling the pits throughout this race. David Bernard was one of a good movers yesterday. In fact, he was the best mover through the field, moved up 10 positions. He started 20th and finished in 10th position. A little bit further down the back, car number 88 for this round. Normally 888, but he's had to drop one because of timing problems or timing restraints, if you like. John Bowie's with Rusty.
Sure is, Matty, and at the moment this is I think the only team in pit lane, with the exception of Dick Johnson Racing, to debut 2 new BA Fords. How hard has that been for you?
Well, the guys in the Aussie Mail team have worked unbelievably long hours to achieve it, but their eyes are all hanging out, but they actually made the grade, and all credit to them. But I mean, it's been quite a late evolution of this car, and we're all learning about it still. So I mean, you've got to give respect to the guys in all the teams, because they're very dedicated people.
Stone Brothers have also debuted 2 BAs here, I should make the point as well. But has there been anything that you teams have had to try and help one another with to get these cars, onto the grid and ready in time?
Oh, to some degree there is, but I mean, whilst we're all Ford teams and we're all Ford lovers, there's a serious amount of rivalry going on as well. So, I mean, they help when they have to, but it's not something that you don't volunteer it unless you're asked for it.
Good luck at that first corner, JB.
Yeah, thanks, mate. There's a certain amount of lunacy goes on at the first corner, isn't there?
Well, he's behind Russell Ingall, so after yesterday's performance, maybe that's a good thing. 12th in his first season at Brad Jones Racing, had 11 top 10 race finishes. John Bowen. There's Dean Canto, also getting a full-time drive for this season. A good reward for a good performance in the limited runs that he had last season. Daryl Beattie.
I guess, Paul, not only an interesting weekend for the Formula One guys with new cars, but also you guys. You've got the VX converted to a VY. How's it competitive-wise?
It's surprisingly good. After all the skirmish yesterday, we're the first new Holden home, which is good for us. And we're just putting a lot of miles on all the componentry. So stay out of trouble and keep it in one piece and hopefully take it to Adelaide.
Thanks, mate.
See you, mate.
He made an interesting point there, Neil. As one of the newer cars, the VY cars, he said he was the first one home. He was 16th, Paul Morris, so effectively he was the leading VY. It is a converted one. There were 3 Holdens in the top 4, but 7 Fords overall in the top 10. No VYs in the top 10, but 4 of those brand new Barras or BAs in the top 10 on the Ford side. Rusty?
One of them who made an impressive debut, Matty, yesterday was, of course, Craig Lowndes, storming up the order in the Cat Ford. How has the off-season switch been from 0-0 to Ford Performance Racing?
Well, I guess we've all come together in such a short time. Our lead-up to this weekend hasn't been perfect. We had some dramas through qualifying, which you saw me back in 20th, I believe, until the last lap. So, we're getting on top of the car. We just need a bit more time.
How's the car itself feel? You mentioned when I spoke to you in the lead-up to this weekend that you'd had a couple of hiccups in testing. Have things sorted themselves out with this car now?
Well, it has this weekend, especially yesterday. We had a great race. It ran faultlessly throughout the race. It's obviously we'd like a little bit more speed, but that's just going to come in time. So for us, an FPV and FPR, it's a great showing.
Enjoy.
Thank you, we will.
That team has gone from 1 car to 3 and from 8 or 9 people out to 30. Neil, you've been around race scenes a long time. That's a major change in such a short space.
It certainly is. I mean, it can be done, as we say hello to Brad Jones this afternoon, but doing it in a short period of time puts enormous pressure on top of everybody, and you're quite right there, Matt. That's not an easy thing to do. I'm sure they'll get on top of it as time goes by.
The Netspace V8 Supercars Showdown. It's a 12-lap race this afternoon. We've got perfect conditions and a massive crowd at Albert Park. Come back and join us as the V8s get ready to roar. There is nothing quite like the Foster's Australian Formula One Grand Prix weekend at Albert Park here in Melbourne. The crowds are now licking their lips at 28 V8 Supercars about to rumble again, gridding up for their warm-up lap. We started this weekend, by the way, with 32 Supercars, but 4 of them already will not be taking part any further. Todd Kelly, Paul Wheel and Garth Tander, all mechanical problems as a result of race 1. And also Stephen Ellery has some soft tissue damage, so he's had to pull out. And that basically means it gives them a couple of weeks to get all their focuses ready for the first championship season, or round proper, at the Clipsal 500. The winner of race 1 yesterday, the birthday boy in fact, he turned 30, Jason Bright, yesterday, and celebrated with a wire-to-wire victory effectively. He started from position number 2, got the jump on Mark Scaife and took it home all the way from there in a 10-lap race. With a new team this season, Team Brock, sponsored by Better Electrical. So if you're looking for Jason Bright in 2003, look to car number 50, the yellow car. We go on board with Greg Murphy from the Kmart Racing Team, and in front of him is the man who started a whole heap of fights yesterday. Geez, he's picked some beauties already, and we haven't even really got racing for the season. Russell Ingall, on his first day, official day as a Ford driver, he sent him scrambling all over the place. 28 starters, pure sunshine, very similar conditions, in fact, to yesterday's race. It has been a lot cooler here, as Bill and Neil have been telling you, for the Formula One cars. And now the temperature has picked up a little, and it's about to get a whole lot hotter. Let's go through this entire grid for you. Jason Bright and Russell Ingall, 1 and 2. Then 3 and 4 is Stephen Richards and Greg Murphy. Remember, this is how they finished yesterday. Jason Barguana and his new team, Team Orcon, Larkham Motorsport and John Bow, are 5 and 6. There's Craig Lowndes, the Ford Performance Racing Hat car, car number 6 from position number 7. Stephen Johnson, he's put a whole lot of work into his fitness for 2003, and it's already paying dividends. He'll start from 8. Bernard and Dean Canto round out our top 10. Remember, we've got 28 starters, so now let's move through the midfield, guys. Bradley Jones and Paul Dumbrell. Of course, Paul Dumbrell looking at a new season here with Larry Perkins Racing. Rodney Forbes and Paul Morris. Morris in the new VY Commodore. Position number 15, Glenn Seaton, still in car number 5. Marcus Ambrose had some troubles yesterday. He'll be looking for a much better performance, the 26-year-old who won our final round of the season in 2002. Jamie Whincup, the V8 rookie, the Formula Ford champion, and Cameron McConville, an ex-Formula Ford champion as well, 17 and 18. There's Greg Ritter. He's got control now of the green-eyed monster. He's from 19, and Mark Larkham back in 20. 21 and 22, well, 21 is Jason Richards from Team Dynamic, that is, from South Australia now. Max Wilson has moved across to Shell Helix Racing, the Brazilian. Simon Wills is Richards' partner at Team Dynamic, and that is positions 23 and 24. And there's the other switch around from the Kiwi, Craig Baird, moves across to Team Kiwi. Back to the rear of the grid now, and Anthony Tratt and Rick Kelly. You know who we haven't seen? We haven't seen Mark Scaife, because he's back at 27. The 5-time touring car champion spun out yesterday. He'll start from all the way down the back of the grid. And Paul Radicic in his new team as well, Team Better Electrical, will be on the last spot, position number 28. Quite an incredible looking grid that is, and they've really messed it around for this race. Mark Scaife has a lot of work to do and not a lot of time to do it. Only 12 laps. These guys have adapted their VX Commodore to VY, which means they've got the new double wishbone suspension. Greg Murphy is operating the same car that he finished off 2002 with. It took him to second place at the championship overall.
And I expect that Greg will be pretty competitive in this one, along with Stephen Johnson, who's a little further back, but he'll start out at position 9, and that's not too shabby. 2 views inside the Shell Helix BA model Falcon as he cycles up some warmth into the tyres and breaks through the sweepers at turns 11 and 12. That gives you a little bit of a view back across Albert Park Lake, kind of looking northwest to westerly out across the western side of the Westgate Bridge and beyond. That's a huge field, isn't it? When you go through this list, I think the really interesting thing about the season this year as we go on board with Dunlop and Russell Ingall is just the great depth of talent. I think I mentioned that yesterday, Matthew. You've got great cars, great teams, great drivers up and down the field. Each one of them in their own right have a long list of achievements. So actually trying to pick winners and pick good teams, even at this early stage, is quite difficult, although obviously people like the Stone Brothers and the Holden Racing team are seemingly able to maintain the edge that they had last year, but it's a very small one.
Yeah. Well, I've been sniffing around the V8s for a few years with Sports Tonight, but in the last couple of years that I've been here full time, just in that space alone, the professionalism of this category has risen to new levels. And as I spoke to Billy yesterday about it, all you've got to do is look at guys like Mark Larkham, who's now got 2 cars, and Jason Bargwanna's coming across. Drivers are going from make to make, and that's exactly what's happening. Everything's starting to get a lot more professional. The depth has to be stronger.
As Greg pointed out in the interview on the grid, Bargwanna had a great run yesterday for 5th place, and we didn't see a lot of him, but John Bowe had a great run as well. And because of our Formula 1 commitments, we haven't got our arms around these guys quite as much this weekend as we normally do, but when we come to Adelaide for the first round of the championship for the Clipsal 500, we'll be living well and truly in V8 supercar land. And
well, mate, while you've been digging around the Formula 1 garages, I've been down there in the V8 paddock, and I did spend some time in that Orcon garage just yesterday, and aside from assessing the damage from Mark Larkham's car that he put into the wall at qualifying, the general gist was this: 2 cars, 2 sets of data. Everything's looking positive for this season, but also we've got a new kid on the block in Jason Bargwanna, and he's, you know, adding a very positive influence, and they're having a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's good, and sometimes that's one of the benefits of running a 2-car team. And there's Mark, who will be starting right at the back with Paul, who was tangled up in the incident at turn 1, Paul Radisich, that is. A lot of people will have made, I think Mark made the comment earlier in the telecast, and Stephen Richards certainly did, you know, they'll just make subtle changes to the car. A few people were moaning and groaning about the rear end misbehaving, and a couple of guys that I spoke to. We are set for a start.
You don't get any closer to the action than you just did with Greg Murphy as he prepares to get this race underway. At the front, though, it's Jason Bright on your right and Russell Ingall on your left. Here we go. Let's go and get into it. The Netspace V8 Supercar Showdown, 12 laps ahead. It looks pretty even between Ingall and Bright. They've all gone to the right-hand side of the track. It makes for not a lot of room into turn 1. Ingall's got him.
Very congested in the mid-pack, but Russell didn't get the ideal jump, but he had track position on his side then, Matty. And even though Jason just tried to turn in and make it as tough as he couldn't close the door, but he was sufficiently able to move across to stop everybody else from sneaking through. Then it's Richards, and then Greg Murphy was next, and this is where it's really tough when you're back in around P15 and beyond. It's just so slow through turns 3 and 4. It's so frustrating because you give these guys 4 or 5 seconds on the opening lap, and you know what? You'd never get it back.
A bit of dirt puffs up out the back of one of the Ford Performance cars off turn 5. And I don't think there's any question that as they all came into turn 1, they noticed that what could have gone wrong there happened already yesterday, so they all steer clear.
Russell on cold tyres, really bolting here, and that's a pretty hefty margin. Lowndes looking down the inside at turn 9, and he's just sweating on the back of one of the better electrical cars. But this is a good break from Russell. Things that will influence this performance are all the obvious elements and setup, but also the starting pressures for your racing tyres. And he's got hold of this car, and it's obviously behaving well. He's probably learnt a little bit about the behaviour of the car in yesterday's race and applied it well, and he is disappearing. He's made even more ground as he's gone through the high-speed left and right-handers. Good battle here, though. Bright, Richards and Murphy.
Tell you what, Russell Ingall's probably getting bored out there all alone. He's got no one to punch up with.
Nothing boring about leading motor races.
You're not wrong, especially after such a lean season or lean couple of seasons that he's had. Move on the inside from Richards. Up against Bright, they swap paint. Richards sneaks through and Murphy takes advantage as well. And will he get him? No, not on the switchback. Bright says, not this time, but look, Bargwanna on the outside.
Yeah, that was funny. I got involved a couple of years ago here in a thing similar to that. And if you end up mispositioned through the left-hander, then as Greg Murphy did, it's very easy to end up making a real pig's ear of it in the last corner, and you get out of sorts, and all of a sudden you drop positions, and he really fared poorly then.
At the end of that tail, you've got John Bowe and Stephen Johnson really getting nose to tail. There those 2 cars go through the green and yellow one. Let's check out the view from Greg Murphy. He has a look up the inside. Just and maybe a little tap off Bargwanna.
Those 2 probably didn't send Christmas cards to each other last year, so they race pretty willingly, these 2. They've had a little history.
Well, they both won around last year. Greg Murphy with that emotional victory on his home circuit at Pukekohe, and of course Jason Bargwanna with one right out of left field, if you could call that, on the wet roads of Gold Coast Surfers Paradise, the Indy Round, which was for the first time a championship round. We'll be going back there as one of our 13 championship rounds for this season. Close to that tyre barrier, no problems. 2 laps into net space showdown.
Skates up to 19th, by the way. And look how Greg gets very close to the back of Jason's car through 11. Just creeps up and makes a little bit of ground. We saw some terrific shots from Murphy's car earlier in the weekend with his unusual braking style. He's one of the few people to left foot brake in a V8 supercar. Now, Bargwanna quite legally defends to the inside and runs a very tight line into 13. And meanwhile, Bright now is having a bit of a look to make amends for the position that he dropped on the previous lap here to Stephen Richards, who pulled a good move. There was a tiny little bit of contact between them, but he got through, scampered through on the inside, and now, in fact, has a little car length between them.
Stevie Richards 6th in the championship last year in his first season. That Larry Perkins team now, he's the senior driver. Paul Dumbrell in the other seat. Let's go through this race score for you. Russell Ingall leads it out. He's got a 3.4 second lead over Richards, and then Bright. It was Bargwanna, Murphy, Bow, Johnson, Lowndes, Canto and Bernard make up your top 10.
Good run for Dean Canto to be in the top 10. He'd be reasonably satisfied with that, just gently creeping along. The plastic bags on the track, they make my skin creep.
I saw it, Neil. I just didn't want to bring it up. And if Mark Scape sees it, he probably won't want to bring it up either.
Therapy's only just starting to help now.
So they're settling into some more consistent times now. Ingall's last lap was a 2:01.363, the only guy to go under 2:02.
Yeah, and it's a massive margin. You know, 2:01.3 for Russell. The next nearest is Stephen Richards, 2:02.6. So when you pull a 1.3 second margin, and that's because he can't totally focus on looking after his own race line. He's got to be mindful of the fact that Jason is in his mirrors, and if he leaves too much space here or there, then he knows that Bridie will have a lunge, and the story cascades as you go down the grid. These guys are all having a bit of a fumble around at the moment, and one of the problems when you're someone like Greg Murphy at the moment, if you do happen to have a little bit more car speed, I'm not saying he does or he doesn't, but if you do, it's very hard to apply it. The only way that you can really get by anybody in one of these cars is by taking. And Jason Richards, I've just had a word passed to me, has been black flagged for jumping the start in the team dynamic entry. This is Craig Lowndes in the cat entry. I was going to make the point, Matthew, that the only way you make ground in one of these cars is to have a big gulp of air under brakes and grab an extra half car length or whatever. And if somebody moves across the road ever so slightly in front of you, puts you onto some dirty track, takes a little bit of the ideal racing line away from you, then you really just can't use that advantage that you may have.
They're all single line at the moment. A massive dose of sensibility has gone rumbling through this field after yesterday's carnage and chaos at the very first turn that cost us 3 cars out of this weekend worth of racing. They've got 3 races to get through. This is race 2, another 10 laps tomorrow.
That was 3 months worth of adrenaline build-up. That's what that was. Oh, Murphy thinking about it at 4. Hard to do it there, but he's working away. He's trying to pressure Bargwanna into a mistake, and he won't be up for it. And he's actually bringing very strong performance out of his AU. And sometimes when a driver makes a change from team to team, it just gives you a new focus, and new people. Maybe you click with your engineer, you get a new situation around you, and it can be just what you need to propel you up the road.
Guys, I'm down here with Campbell Little. Russell Ingall's off to a terrific start.
Yeah, it's been great. It's great to have an experienced guy in our helping us. The starts are just great, and we're starting to get the car sorted out. It's been a good debut for the car.
Just tell us, has the track grip improved over the course of the weekend? Traditionally with this street circuit, it's very dirty to begin with. You're one of the first categories out there. Is it better now?
Oh, way better now. The first session we thought we were in a lot of trouble. As soon as the F1 car started running, the grip came up lots, and we're happy so far.
Fingers crossed for you and all the boys.
Thank you.
Russell Ingall's last lap was a 2:93. Stephen Richards' last lap was a 2:92. There's still 3 seconds in between those. And look at Mark Scape moving up the field, now up to 16th position. Started back in 28th. He's mowed down 12 cars already. And this is the kind of work that the 5-time touring car champion has been putting down while we've been keeping an eye on the other guys. Look at that, the split move. Yes. Paul Morris in front of him. That was actually the turn right there, turn 14, the one that cost Skate in race 1 yesterday. He just went spinning off.
8 laps to go, position 16.
Not exactly going to make you get thrilled in the driver's seat, position 16, but the breathing part's handy. But now what we're seeing is that Stephen Richards' car is settling down and Stephen's continuing to peel the pace down. Russell's coming away from the pace just a little bit. He can drive his car straighter and he's got a margin. It's a 3-second margin near enough. But he can't afford to relax too much, Matty, because if he does, he'll have Stephen right with him. That is the margin. That's what it looks like. That's 2.9 seconds first to second. And Stephen, now without Jason all over the back of him, can settle down, drive the ideal race line, maximise his braking and try and settle into a rhythm to see whether he can do anything about Russell.
The fastest lap at the moment has come from Marcus Ambrose, who's claimed 6 or 7 positions out there on the track. His last lap was a 2:02.91, so 0.6 of a second quicker than Russell Ingall at the moment. Ooh, there's a spin, one of the Team Dynamic cars, so that'll be Simon Wills. Car number 44. Brand new VY with the new Aurora engine in it. That's the reason why Garth Tander, in fact, isn't racing here. He launched an engine yesterday, and it's the only one they've got. It's a brand spanker. They've got nothing to place it with, so they've just put it back in the box. Bargwanna gets Murphy.
Oh, Greg went for a lower gear down there that time to see whether he could crisscross and get up the inside. Wasn't enough. This is a great battle. Into the second last corner. Murphy has a think about it. Can I get down to the B pillar? No, they make contact. Only a small amount of rubbing and nudging, and this is music for John Bower. He looks at all this and thinks, keep it up, keep it up. Ingall, Richards, Bright, Bargwanna, Murphy, Bower, Johnson, Lowndes, Canto, Bernard, and David just continues to creep forward. Further down, we've got Ambrose 11. In fact, for some reason, Ambrose is drifting on our computer screens here, so some issue with Ambrose. And now Bright makes a run down the inside. I think he might make this stick. Gets up alongside. Very gentle touch between the two. He's mispositioned now when they get to 4. But can he hold it when they get to 5? No.
Well, Stephen Richards just gave him a little tap to make sure that he didn't get too friendly with Larry Perkins' Commodore. And by the way, Jason Bright just posted the fastest time, almost a 2-minute flat.
For some reason, Ambrose has disappeared out of the order. Look at this, another think about it. It looked to me earlier, like only a lap or a lap and a half ago, that Stephen was able to just walk away fractionally from Jason, but that's certainly not the case at the moment. And Bright's back on him, sweating on him at the moment. Great bit of the track there, sensational. You rub up against the fence on the right, hook these things in through the left-right hand. If you're too quick through the first part, makes you too slow through here, and then you're vulnerable in the braking area when you get down to 13. Yeah. What's Scafie up to? That didn't sound normal, did it?
Absolutely not. He looked as though he was really struggling to get back on the track there. 15th, started 28th, so he's making up plenty of ground, but something about the brakes, I think.
Oh, now here we go, it's on again.
Murphy continue this battle that's been going since lap 1, and Bargwanna ends up with a little bit of green stuff underneath the black stuff, and that's not good news as Murphy goes past, and John Bower's just waiting for them to cancel each other out so he can push on through. Side by side, give you a good indication of frontline speed.
Oh, he's up there this time. Oh, he locks the front left and runs wide. Bridie's gone into the kitty litter, stays on the gas. She's the world's fastest off-road touring car. And Bright, who really outbraked himself, grabbed hold of the front left, got himself crossed up, tried to stay with it, but in the process he's now a good 100 metres behind. And what's that front left tyre look like?
It would be a big flat spotted mess. Greg Murphy slots in now behind the Team Brock Commodore. And that was just the break that Stephen Richards needed, because Bright was definitely catching him for pace and time. That last lap that they went head-to-head with, Bright was 0.2 of a second quicker than Stephen Richards, but it all came undone as they went back to turn 1.
And these are the risks you have to take. Remember, I talked before about how difficult it is to pass, and it stands to reason the cars over the years are well sorted. Pretty equal.
Oh, that's Marcus Ambrose. I think Rusty's down there. What's happening with Marcus?
Guys, it sounds like there is some sort of electrical gremlin with this car. Marcus came into the top of pit lane. They're having trouble firing it, and you might cast your mind back to practice earlier in the week. There was an electrical gremlin with this car back then.
Yeah, they've had a bit of trouble all weekend. We're looking at a replay also, Greg, of the incident down at turn 1, and I half suspect that could have been triggered by the fact that as he braked, and he would have had a lot of brake pressure on at that point, he actually did it with the left tyre on top of the painted line. And even if it's only a fraction less grip available, it might be sufficient to just grab the brake. Anyway, it's only a speculation from out here, but you need to take these risks in order to try and make a pass. Sometimes you have to take a big gulp of air to do it. Often you put yourself in a position where you can't get out from underneath.
Here's what happened to Mark Scaife. Let's find out exactly with the bird's eye view. That's Paul Morris again in front of him. Remember, we saw him just a lap or so ago really fighting it. Oh, he's done another 360, well, a 180, and then he had to spin it back.
Yeah, he sort of had a look and then half got alongside Paul, and then, but not quite enough, and Morris was turning in, and the two made contact, and it was enough for Scaife to turn his car around. And then when we were looking at the live coverage, we saw him recovering from that and gathering it all up, and he'll have had a bit of a humour bypass for a while. Oh, look at this. Valvoline car and Anthony Tratt.
Yeah, Jamie Whincup. That's the only surviving Valvoline Gary Rogers car out there at the moment. He's well and truly off on the grass.
Second last corner. It's a tempting place to pass, and Jamie Whincup has incurred some damage there, sufficient to take him way off course, hopefully out of harm's way, but enough to stop him, unfortunately, in his debut. And there's Tratty's got a problem. He's got a puncture in the front left. The crowd are loving all this V8 supercar action, and he has bunkered it. Listen to them. They're loving it. Everybody's loving it except the bloke in the driver's seat, because right at this point, he's hating it. Absolutely hating it. And that'll have been as a result of the contact.
Clean out the cockpit, make sure you've got all your bits and pieces, and he's jumping out. Geez, they've had their money's worth at turn 1. Yesterday's big bingle, and now Anthony Tratt goes out and throws a few donuts in the kitty litter for them. You're looking at the battle between Greg Murphy and Jason Bright for 3rd and 4th position on the track, way out in front of these guys. 7 seconds in front is Russell Ingall.
Hopefully that incident down there is, in the clerk of course's opinion, the car sufficiently far enough in the gravel trap and off a trajectory from the straight ahead position that they don't neutralise the race with the safety car. This is actually turning into a pretty good battle with JB, Stephen Johnson and Craig Lowndes joining their BA Falcons into one big long Falcon.
Take a look how much room, just on that wide shot you saw there, just how much space there was in between car 1, or position 1, position 2, and then 3 and 4, almost the entire main straight. But now, Jason Bargwanna, John Bowe, Stephen Johnson and Craig Lowndes have all joined the freight train, trying to get a hold of Greg Murphy and Jason Bright.
Bradley gone off, and we saw a yellow flag, obviously, in the background there. For the incident at turn 1, and that was one of the reasons why Murphy tucked back in behind when they were running down towards turn 1. Now, what has happened here? Here's the replay of the Tratt Whincup situation. A bit hard to work out precisely what that's all about. Oh, okay. Well, that's where the contact was made in the front left corner of Anthony Tratt's car, and then he presses on, but when he gets down here, he's got a flat tyre, and it hasn't turned right for him, and he's gone straight into the gravel. And there he remains. Toll IPEC entry, and filling up the spoiler and the radiator intake area with lots of gravel. Now this little battle here continues, and Greg is really all over the top of Jason Bright. Greg?
Just down with Russell Ingall's teammate, Marcus Ambrose. You've had a crack at trying to change the fuses and maybe look at the connections. How did you go?
Yeah, no good. You know, this is the second race in a row where we've had electrical problems, so there's obviously something going terribly wrong. It's in mid, you know, it was clear there for 3 or 4 laps, and then just bang, all of a sudden it starts to misfire again. So it's not the way we wanted to start our season.
frustrating, but at least it's not a championship round, Marcus.
Yeah, that's right, and at least we know we're fast too, because Russell's leading and shows the car's got plenty of speed. Just got to put it together for the blue car.
Thank you.
New car gremlin there, and it'll be a little connector or something stupid. It'll take a little while to trace. He can do it in the comfort of the workshop. Bradley's car gets plucked out, but it's a very difficult thing to do in a pressured situation in the pit lane without all your diagnostic tools, and there might have been more to that. There was another car there. Don't know who the other.
That was Paul Dumbrell's car. Whether or not he was involved in Brad Jones's off remains unclear.
So turn 1 remains a no-go zone. You can see glimpses of the yellow flag there on the right as we look at the shots, and you can't pass down there while the yellow is flying, obviously. And we're looking rearward now to Craig Lowndes in the cat car. We'll have to get our heads around that with his new number and new colours, new driving suit. And I bumped, and Murphy's gone off. Murphy would have been nibbling away at the back of Jason Bright. He's obviously had a lunge, and for some reason it hasn't paid a dividend for him. And it'll be interesting to see whether we get a replay of that situation to explain the full situation.
Well, I can't see any blue or metallic Orcon paint on the Kmart car, so makes you wonder whether it was just sheer pressure that put Greg Murphy off. Maybe a tangle. They've been going at it so hard. Murphy, Barguano was behind him. Jason Bright, Team Brock was in front of him, so he's now slotted back quite a few positions.
Quite a lot of the body language that I'm seeing from different cars around here is showing cars really skating about. Let's have a look here. Stephen, now let's look further into the background, because it was the battle between Bright and Murphy that I was interested in.
Yeah.
And you don't really see what that was all about, except that he's gone off. Can't see any obvious marks on the car, but bang, 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 dropped a bunch of positions. There's more of the story here. Oh, he just outbraked himself. Whoop. And no damage done other than a heap of positions dropped. Maybe a little mark on the tyres.
You reckon Jason Barguana gave him a little wave as he went on by. On lap 10 of 12, we've got Russell Ingall, our race leader, started from position number 2 on the grid. And he's effectively doing a Jason Bright here. This is what Bright did yesterday to Mark Skaife. Got the jump straight out and just took it home. Ingall, his former teammate, Stephen Richards, second. Back through the field we go.
Such a shame that we ended up in a situation where we're not seeing a head-to-head contest between the 2 red cars and Russell as Mark comes back up through the field, battling Cam and Conville at the moment in the Lansvale entry. Great little battle, this one.
Yeah, this is 17, 18 and 19. Sorry, mate. This is 17, 18 and 19 for the field. So Skaife at the moment is in 19th position. Cameron McConville there. Glenn Seaton's in that big lock-up from, like Max Wilson, maybe. There's Seaton, McConville and Skaife. So that is 17, 18 and 19 on the road. 37 seconds behind our race leader, Russell Ingall.
Paul Morris making a move there. There's a bit of heart rate back in the pack, isn't there? There's stuff going on. Wilson there in 18, new to the Shell team this year, departed Briggs and effectively in a seat swap with Paul Radisich. Morris, Rick Kelly there in 15, who was down the order in qualifying. It looked like he had a moment, just a couple of ticks back. These guys are battling for 13, 14, 15. Radisich is next, 16, so he's actually made pretty reasonable ground, all things considered, but it's just so difficult to make good ground from that far back. Paul's having a good look and a good think about whether he can make a move going into 11. Very hard place to pull it off.
Let's hope that this is a comeback year for the Rat, because he had such a terrible time last year at Shell Helix. Now he's done the switch. He's in a new team, in a new car.
Somebody had a car pulled off to the left there as well. Didn't quite catch the colours. So the order: Ingall, Stephen Richards, Jason Bright, Jason Barguana, still having a good strong run in 4th. John Bower 5th. Stephen Johnson is next. Then Craig Lowndes, Greg Murphy, Dean Canto, David Bernard, Paul Dumbrell sneaking along. And Radisich again thinks about it. Rodney Forbes in 12. Max Wilson, Rick Kelly, Paul Morris, Paul Radisich, Glenn Seaton, Cam McConville, Mark Skaife 19, Mark Larkham, Greg Ritter, Jason Richards 22, and they're all chasing this bloke who's got a 4-second margin. and he's on his final lap. First potential win here for Russell Ingall aboard a Ford. There's the margin back to Stephen Richards, who opens his account well. And I think Russell will be pretty satisfied with this, and I'm sure the Stone brothers will be, and I know that the Ford hierarchy will be thrilled. And there seems to be great potential in the new car, and judging by the comments from different people in the paddock, it appears as though both the brands at the top level are tied quite well together in competitive terms.
There's Bright, race 1 winner. Looking at another podium finish. He'll get it home and finish in 3rd position. The final stages of this race, lap 12.
Bit of an unusual gap between the first 3, really. It's not something that we see that often.
4 seconds between Russell Ingall and Stephen Richards.
He will no doubt go back out into the crowd and reintroduce himself now. Remember that piece that we saw a little earlier?
That's right.
Just maybe hand out his business card. Hi, I'm Russell Ingall, won a race today, a bit of a ledge.
Well, he can put race winner on it now, because the man who signed over with the Blue Oval at a stroke past midnight 2003 will strike his very first blow for Ford. Ladies and gentlemen,
congratulations.
The enforcer is back.
Yeah, well done. That's great. Very enthusiastic Russell Ingall, and justifiably proud. Anytime you win a V8 supercar race, you've earned your stripes. And
Russell, return to the start-finish line for the ceremony.
In many ways, this could be his quickest lap to get back for the ceremony. Or maybe his slowest lap. He's going to go out there and soak it all up. Back at Stone Brothers, they're trying to work out what's happened with Marcus Ambrose's car, but look at the emotion from the cockpit of the Caltex Ford. Car number 9, Russell Ingall.
Puts him on pole for payday tomorrow in front of the big crowd, and a lot of interest, and he's got a lot of support in the crowd. Great character in this business, and I think we'll probably see this a couple of times at least through the course of this year. I think Russell will be a factor.
Well, I
Jim Stone engineering that car, and the Stone brothers have been doing a great job in the recent past engineering the fastest of the Falcons.
The biggest question was, how long would it take Russell Ingall to get back to the top of the timesheets? Not long. Absolutely not long. 1 race, in fact, and Russell Ingall's back there. He's the winner of race 2. Then Stephen Richards, his former teammate, 2nd. Jason Bright collects 3rd after a win yesterday. Bardwana, a 4th position. He's so strong this time around. John Bowe, Steve Johnson, Craig Lowndes, Greg Murphy. Dean Canto and David Bernard finish off our top 10. Paul Dumbrell and 11th. Max Wilson down there in 13th. There's much more racing to come. The Carrera Cup, a whole heap more on your home of motorsport.
The dynamics of the new V8 supercar season are going to be very, very interesting indeed. Russell Ingall, after only 2 races, they're not championship races, but nevertheless a show of strength from Ford, taking his first victory for the Blue Oval. It was an absolute reaction of disbelief for some fans to think that Russell would cross over. There was a lot of speculation about it last year, but it's been a pretty strong move for Stone Brothers Racing. By contrast, of course, Marcus Ambrose, a disappointing weekend so far, and it may not get too much better if that electronic problem continues. But even if he does get on the grid for the 3rd race, it'll be a long way down there. Here's Jason Bright.
Well, Jason, a great effort for you, and you were trading some blows there with your former Bathurst winning teammate.
Yeah, I thought he'd leave me a little bit more room than that a couple of times. We worked hard to get up beside him and left him enough room on the exit of turn 3, and when we're trying to come back around him on the outside of the next one, he didn't leave us so much room, but it was a good battle. You know, we tried to keep it nice and clean.
Must be a good feeling, though, in the sense of a great debut for the new look team, Brock.
Yeah, it's great. You know, we're learning all the time, and we probably didn't have as good a car then. We're trying to get through the weekend on 1 set of tyres so as we can go testing with a nice fresh set next week. So I don't know what the other guys started on, but it looked like they had pretty good rubber to me.
Go for break tomorrow, mate.
Thanks, Rusty. Cheers.
Well, there's still to sort out the ownership problems, of course, with those 3 frontline Holden teams, but let's hope they can all get in there, because it'll be great value seeing Jason Bright taking on Mark Scope when they're both effectively team leaders. We also had a good result for Stephen Richards. He was very prominent in the race, and not to mention Russell Ingall himself. We'll have a chat with Russell pretty soon, but I think we can go back down to pit lane now.
Stevie, how was that?
Yeah, it was good, mate. The car was excellent, a lot better than yesterday. A little bit of a battle with Bridie, which was great fun. And tomorrow, hopefully, we'll press on, make it a smidge better and go one better.
How about you got tomorrow, but what about looking towards Adelaide?
Oh, it's looking great. I mean, the car, I mean, we're learning about the car still, so I think come Adelaide we'll have a really good rocket ship.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks.
An amazing performance there, and of course Richo in a different position again this year, with Larry handing over the reins to him, so to speak. Russell leaving the team and Paul Dumbrell making up the numbers there, and Paul of course will become a force to be reckoned with. I think he's a very big talent, but at the moment some of the big names in V8 supercar racing after some off-season changes are making some big waves here at Albert Park. And don't forget, in a couple of weeks from now, the very first round of the championship, the Clipsal 500 in Adelaide. But no one's happier down there than Russell Ingall. He's a comedian, but he can also drive too.
Well, it certainly seems that the enforcer is back. Russell Ingall, what does that feel like?
Oh, mate, it feels good to have no one in front of you, I can tell you. It's been a while, but just fantastic. Look, what can you say about this car? It's going to make my job a hell of a lot easier this year because it's such a good car. Boys have done a brilliant job, considering this is its first outing. Only 3 hours running before we came to this place, and she's up here already, so, mate, just absolutely wrapped.
Tomorrow's the big day. Can you do it again?
Absolutely. Look, I just want to say something. There's a good mate of mine out there, Barry Sheen.
Yeah.
He's doing it pretty rough out there. He had a lot to do with putting this deal together. I know he'll be watching. He's having a rough time at the moment. Go on, Baz. We did it, mate.
Nice call, Russ. Nice call.
Good on you, Russell. And Baz, while you're watching, I can pass something on to you too. Michael says hello, Ruben says hello, Jean Tot says hello, and so does Juan Montoya. And just about everyone I've spoken to in pit lane. So, Baz, hang in there, mate. When we come back after the break, we'll have more action for you. Don't forget, the Carrera Cup is coming up. The Porsches will be on the track, and I'll have a chat with a legend in motorsport, Jochen Mass. All that and more on your home of motorsport.